Okay, I'm going to call to order. This is the Board of Review meeting, Monday, April 29th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Motive,
Here.
Mazias, Snyder,
Yes.
Miller, here, Nimas,
Here.
Anderson, here, Hopkins,
Here.
Trimble,
Here.
and myself.
Excellent. Next item is election of chair and vice chair. Would anyone care to make a motion?
Nominate the mayor, Mrs. Motive, as the chair.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Vice chair. Any motion? I'm not sure who the current vice chair is, honestly.
I'm Scott.
Oh, it might be Scott.
I'll nominate Scott. Okay, Scott.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion by Jared, second by Dave. Any other motion? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Lucky you. Okay. Moving on, I'll verify the training requirements in confidentiality ordinance. If we have enough people that have been trained in the process.
Well, actually, the rule on that changed about 2 years ago. So each year there has to be at least one person who takes the training. So to satisfy, and everyone has gone through the training here, but to satisfy the legal requirement this year, Mr. Miller was our victim and has watched the video.
Exciting. Yeah, I bet.
And completed the requirements in time.
Yay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. And confidentiality ordinance?
So there is a copy of the current confidentiality ordinance in your packets, just to show everyone that we do have that.
Okay, that is in place. Excellent.
Does that have to be updated?
Okay. I don't-
I'm just looking at.
Yeah, we could have one. That's when it was adopted. We're all good.
Fine.
Okay, then, review of firm policy regarding procedure for sworn telephone testimony and sworn written testimony.
So enclosed is the policy that we've adopted, the standard policy, which has essentially been in place for years. So I just provided a copy of how it looks today. And so we've adopted this policy and the next policy each year and haven't made any changes to that.
Okay, thank you. So that's for both the sworn telephone testimony, sworn written testimony, and then also the waiver of board of review hearing requests, or is that something totally different?
No, that's the second policy.
Yes, we were talking about both of those,
Yes.
right? Okay, next, the receipt of assessment roll and report by assessor. Kit.
Okay, there's no longer an annual assessment report, I guess, by the state, but for new construction this year, we had 1,104,000 in new construction in commercial, and then on the residential end, roughly $600,000 for new construction on the residential end. The big one, obviously, for the commercial would have been Dollar General. So it's more than what we've had in past years, which is good, but in most of my municipalities that I do, getting tough out there with finances, with, the way the state has the net new construction is all you can raise your levy limit, so, but I don't know, I know we wish we could have 10 more Dollar Generals come in, but, at least we got that, so. Yeah. Some partial houses gone up, commercial, and there's a few remodels and things like that. I know there was a couple houses, at least one that didn't get built, and I don't know if they're going to, but, you know, most of my municipalities, there's not a lot of new building going on right now. I think a lot of it has to do with costs, inflation, and things like that, so. All I can do is sympathize with municipalities right now, how tough it's getting, so. If there's any questions you guys have on anything, I can answer anything, so. We got 2 hours to sit here, so.
I know there's a new one coming in this year,
The house, yeah.
but that doesn't help us very much.
Yeah, no, I think we're usually around 600,000, somewhere in there. Does that sound right? I can look it up,
Right,
get back to you on that, but.
yeah.
And that's bigger in commercial, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
New house being
Yeah, I did
built
kind
up
of,
on 8th Avenue.
Oh, and one in Omaha.
it's just expensive building right now.
Yeah. You know where, I think it's right by, this right about two blocks from your house, up on the left, where they've been in there logging.
You always have to factor in whenever we lose a house.
Yeah, there's demolitions.
That.
Yeah, like the brewing company was demoed, so that's, I don't know, it's like 43,000 off the books there, so I can tell you those figures too.
Hopefully we'll have more coming in on that.
Yeah, do we know?
41,300 was taken off for demolitions, on the commercial, and 7,200 bucks on residential, so there wasn't much. Or down for residential, so. I'll run last year's just to see what we had for net new construction.
This should be just below servers.
It kind of, I don't know, it kind of surprises me in a lot of the communities that I do, that there's not some sort of apartments going up in some of these communities, you know? But I don't know if it's costs or.
Cost.
Yeah.
You can't get the rent that you could somewhere else, and it costs the same amount of money to build it here as it does somewhere else.
Right.
Or more, right?
Last year we had 527,000 in residential new construction and only 32,000 commercial. So we had 167,000 demo last year. So yeah, we just went through a referendum or at our annual meeting, the town of Minocqua that I live in, for G1 housing. So our community is donating, buying a piece of land, donating it to this company out of, I can't remember where they're out, but they built one of these in the Dells, basically for labor in our community.
Seasonal.
So, yep. And they're from all over the place, but they're here on visas for 6 months or whatever, 90 days or whatever it is. And it's a big uproar, you know, because they're, I mean, it won't be perfect, and it's $300,000 that our small town's given up, you know.
That's how much the land costs.
Yeah, it's, you know, I had my doubts about it, but once the presentation happened, and we're in such a labor shortage for, you know, especially in our summer months. And everybody who goes out to eat or what have you is, they ended up, I mean, the meeting went on for 2.5 hours, some yelling and screaming and whatnot, but it ended up passing 80 to 10 votes or something like that.
It did pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but they're doing it where I think there's 24 beds that are going to be short-term rental for like traveling nurses, because we have a hospital, 2 hospitals actually close to us, and things like that. So I don't know, the way I look at it is, I guess in my opinion, is you have more beds in your community type of thing.
More people spending money in the community then too.
Yeah, well, hopefully you have like the grocery store, and the, you know, there's employment, you know, at these places, I guess. It's one of our grocery stores built their own housing for their employees. So, but we don't have any net new construction for apartments. I know the city of Merrill that I work for, they are very heavy on apartments and seem to be keep building them, you know, it seems to be working, but
How would something like are you familiar with the Sonera project up by the nursing home? So there's some county property out there, and the company has requested WIDA funding,
okay,
and I think it looks very positive that they might get it this round.
okay.
They did not get it last year, but I think are probably going to get it this year. So that would be, it was like 40 units, I think, of, how does a project like that that's partially funded by WIDA, like, how does that work with assessment?
Some of the low income housing, is it low income housing or?
I think it's
Workforce.
It's affordable housing through the tax credit, so they have income limitations on some of the units, but some of the units are market.
Yeah, there's a couple different laws and rules on those. Some low income housing is completely tax exempt, so I'd have to see what it is, I guess.
I don't believe this would be tax exempt. This would be, it wouldn't be full rate because it's not.
Sure.
Because you would assess typically this on income.
Yeah, and there's being supplemented by the government. The owner still gets the money, but it's some supplement and some from the tenant, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
So that should help
Yep.
in the residential arena. Would that be considered residential?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'd probably put it as commercial if it's 40 units, yeah. It doesn't matter which one,
Yeah.
tax rates are the same.
Okay.
So just to give a little bit of comparison for everyone, so last year you said we were a little over 500,000 in total.
Yeah.
So that generated $3,462 in revenue for the city. So with this year being 1.7 million, this will probably put us a little over 1%. So we'll be lucky maybe if we get 10,000 in additional revenue this year. So
It's really, really tough with the inflation right now for the municipalities to keep up. And now we're talking about cuts in our township right now. So, and you can cut and cut and cut, but you know, eventually.
You're down.
We went for referendum in the last 2 elections, and there's maybe 4,000 voters. We lost by 8 votes once and 12 votes the other time.
So it didn't pass either time? Wow.
To raise your.
Levy, yeah. I think our municipality, we had a police department, library, volunteer fire department. I think our levy is 4.5 million, something like that. We're asking for another million, basically, 950,000. A lot of it's for roads. We got 160, 180 miles of roads that we have to.
That's all town road?
Yeah, our township is big. We got,
Yeah.
it's 3 congressional townships, so it's 170 square miles.
Wow.
So, but it's a challenge. We tried to get the Pratt tax. I don't know if you've looked into that before. Premier resort area
No.
tax.
Requires legislative action.
It does, and so a couple communities around us had it. It was kind of built for resort areas. And kind of the way it works is on goods and products that tourists are buying, that has an additional tax on it, the way I'm understanding it, right? And then that goes towards the community infrastructure, basically, that extra tax. And it's basically built for a community like what we have.
Mhm.
And the legislation has decided that they don't want any more new taxes. So, and it hurt. I mean, it's designed for a community like us, and we were denied on it, so.
Even if it's not a tax on the residents, it's a tax on.
It would be like, I don't know if it would be like on hotels, maybe you have a further understanding, could be,
It's essentially a 0.5% sales tax.
Yeah.
And so it would apply to everything. And that's, Bayfield has it.
okay,
They had to have the legislature approve it for
Right.
them, but the legislature was different back then.
yeah, exactly.
So it's essentially, so they have a 6% sales tax and everything at Bayfield.
Instead of 5.5.
So people that are buying things in your community are paying for the roads that they use and things like that.
Makes sense.
But I don't, something's gonna have to change, in my opinion, because municipalities can't keep doing it, so.
And shared revenues that isn't gonna
It helps.
fill the gap.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly, you're asking for $1 and they're giving you pennies, you know. I don't-
John, did you have a question for Kit?
Yes, on a lot of the older housing community here, when you have retrofitting going on with insulation and so the heat pumps being added in, triple pane windows and induction stoves and so on, what does that do to the tax on that property?
It kind of,
Increase it?
yeah, it kind of depends at what level they do it, you know. If there's windows, that would be an increase typically. If there's windows and siding, that'd probably be 5%, somewhere in there. You know, it kind of depends on what the projects are. You know, some of it, if you just insulated one part of your house or something, it's not gonna make a difference in the assessment. Would it make a difference for the person that's in there? Probably, but in the overall market of things, would it change the value of the house? Probably not too much on my end. I don't know if that kind of sums it up, but yeah, I mean, the bigger the project, obviously, the more impact it's gonna have. What's that?
Really has one.
Thanks.
And I'll give one to Scott too, so he's not in the dark here. You hand that down to Scott. And possibly the attorney, and I'm out.
Is that it then, Kit, for your?
Yeah, if you guys got any questions. I rambled on, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. No, that was good.
That's fine.
Okay, then we'll move on to examining the assessment roll and correcting errors. It will be available here for anyone who would like to review in the binder. And since we have no one here in person, we're gonna go ahead and recess until 10 minutes to 7. And if anyone who's going to leave the building, if you could give Scott your cell phone number and he would contact you in the event that anyone shows up. And then we would have to reconvene earlier than that. In the meanwhile, there's some lovely cheese and sausage available. Thank you to.
Sounds like dinner. Sounds like dinner.
Appreciate that.
should probably have a formal motion to recess.
So yes, we could,
I'll make the motion.
thank
I'll
you.
second.
So we have a Darren motion to recess, and I got Tom on that first. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So check in with Scott with your number before you leave, if you're gonna leave,
You know, it's surprising
And
me
you
about that
10 to 7.
Premier Resort tax,
Yeah.
is that Monaco doesn't have it.
Patsies
and you can pay it.
Well, in the city of Ryman, we got it.
I know,
I mean, and they have hardly, except, there's hardly any resorts up there.
Right.
I mean, on the outskirts, but in the city limits, there